emerging paradigms beyond AI and ML. So we are breaking free from the confines of ordinary AI and ML and diving headfirst into cutting edge paradigms that are rewriting the rules of the game. So let's call on the stage. Our next session's mediator is Tyrone Vernon Moodley, CEO of Bev Counter Inc. and panelists.
Morning, everyone. Morning, everyone. I don't know. Is this working? Yeah.
Check, check. Yeah, absolutely.
So, as the speaker said, my name is Tyrone Moodley. I'm the CEO of Bev Counter, Yas Money. We're an AI fintech company specializing in moving money from different countries using crypto, as well as using AI to analyze that data. And I'll let the next speaker go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Arnav. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have two different companies. One of them is a little bit fun. It's a machine learning company in the restaurant space, so I get to eat all day. But I think we're not talking about machine learning. The other company, which makes it more exciting, is a geospatial company. We bring some digital solutions to Fortune 500 clients like UN Habitat, World Bank, and build solutions across forestry, mining, agriculture, sustainability, supply chain, and all. So excited to be sharing some insights and learning more from other panelists as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Rohan Rajput. I am personalization domain lead at Headspace. Headspace, if you know about, it's a mindfulness and meditation company. And my primary work is like I build like a personalization and recommendation system. I have like over 10 years work experience in the field, and yeah, excited to learn from different people here. Thank
Hi guys, thank you so much for the invite. My name is Patricia Mendez. I am the CEO and founder of A2C Port. We have created a AI power unified appointment system, something that the port has been wanted it to create for the past 10 years. We have been able to do it within a year and a half, currently on beta stage. So aside from that, I'm also in the logistics industry. We own a couple brokerage, 3PL brokerage, and a trucking company. Um,
Good morning, everybody. Firstly, thank you so much for the keynote discussion that we just had and the speakers on the panelists before we had. Very empowering and educational. I'm Captain Aditya. I'm a military veteran, served in the supply chain and technology space for about 9 years. Went out to work with private wealth management and again technology space back at Goldman Sachs. Currently working in modernizing the student transportation space with the use of internet and technology for one of the leading startups, and super excited to be here. Thank you.
So, I'll just start with you. How is AI changing your company?
Am I audible without the mic? Okay, so I guess AI in a one sentence for us in the organization is it's not here to replace the jobs, it's here to make our jobs easier and faster. So the way we have implemented AI across different landscapes is to find solutions and systems that took a lot of time when were bottlenecks, and now we have been removing them by creating more automations, digital transformative technologies, and bringing in some algorithms that can do heavy computing for us rather than just taking away one's job. So AI is more of a tool that empowers us to build on the new innovative technologies that can transform tomorrow. And we do so by utilizing various sides of it. There's Gen AI for marketing and content creation, there's supply chain AI for visualization and transparency. And there's, of course, a lot of different communicative AIs or language models that are making it easier for us to interact with one another, build systems that can reduce the gap between technology communication and systems thinking in this case.
So, you mentioned something about, was it geospatial
Yes.
analysis?
Yeah.
Uh, what are you? Did you hear about Bill Gates using AI to discover copper in Zambia?
Absolutely, I did.
Is that what you guys do?
No, so I mean that's a part of a small. So geospatial. I don't know how many of us are familiar. It's essentially visualizing the Earth from space. So using spatial insights and portraying it in our information systems that can allow us to gain more insights. Now, when Bill Gates designed the AI to visualize, let's say, a section, in this case Zambia, and understand where the mineral deposits are, he was using technology to give relevance and connections with trends and patterns. But there's so much more, let's say, we have explored as well in about 10 years of our company in terms of, let's say, building AI driven tools that can bring transparency into agriculture. So, starting from how much yield production is done on crops to where the supply chain takes the crops to distribution networks and then deploying it across the entire country, let's say on a supply chain. That's one example. Another example could be deforestation, understanding deforestation trends, forest fires, and understanding how these are connected to climate change, which of course is real. I guess all of us have admitted that. And then linking it to how can we take sustainable practices to reduce emissions, to bring in more change, and to allow people to understand the spatial environment around us in a better way. The best example of this is Google Maps. Look at how much we have started using maps. And even though we are quite adept in figuring out our own ways and roads, we still use apps like Uber and like Lyft, which use maps as a daily component. That is also spatial technology that allows us to visualize it in a better way. And AI just makes it easier for us to understand that and makes it faster for us to interpret it.
Are you using this technology in any country other than the US right now?
Yeah, so we have operations across 7 countries, notably India, Indonesia, and Middle East in the Asian sector. Then in Africa, we work across Kenya, Ethiopia, and we are also expanding now our operations in Germany, in Europe. Then, of course, there's US and Canada, where we are looking into some transformative solutions in mining, forestry, and agriculture.
So would you say that AI has been a net positive for those countries?
It depends. So AI has a big influence on economic variables. So the first thing I always say is adaptability of AI is like a learning curve. So maybe in the West, the learning curve was easier to adapt. So people understood what ChatGPT is or how it was easier. When we tried to implement these solutions in, let's say, developing countries like Indonesia and India, it was a little bit of a delay, which means that there was a little bit of resistance, and people did not want to break traditions or culture in this case, where there have been systems for hundreds of years. And AI coming and disrupting it brings in the innovation, of course, but of course leads to economic impact. Now, whether it's net positive or negative, I guess we need another 1 or 2 years to figure out in the developing countries. But on the developed countries, I think it has been a net positive in just few months of putting it down there across a couple of projects.
Very interesting. Let's go on. So you mentioned that you work with mindfulness. Was that it?
Yeah, Headspace. So
Headspace?
yeah.
Could you describe how AI has helped people? Is this with mental illness? Is that what's happening with you?
Yeah, so primarily like our company work on like there were like two part of it. Like first part, like we do provide like lots of online courses and like online content to people like those who need like any kind of mental health or like want to have like guided meditation. But there is another part of company where we do like personalized like personalized care providers like coaches to any kind of mental health. So earlier it was a part of like the company name was Ginger, and uh, 3 years ago like Headspace and Ginger merged together, so we are in like one company right now. uh, as we all know that mental health is like very sensitive topic, right? It's being like after COVID it get even worse today. And we are seeing that like there are not enough like providers in the world, and there are like lots of costs associated with it. So it's a very important to bring new technologies that can help people to meet that mental like need. We work like and the specifically domain I work is like personalization and recommendation. That so my team actually build like a personalized uh, care plan for you. Like whenever you like log in the Headspace app, like it help like based on your like historical data or like based on your your interaction with your coaches, it generate like a personalized care plan for you. On the other side of it, we utilize lots of different types of AI. Like recently, we integrated lots of LLM in that. our like chat system that can help us to understand the risk of a patient, that help us to understand like properly match a coach with the patient. And also along with that, like we can create like a entire personalized healthcare plan for you, because it's very it's very subjective and very personal to person that what kind of mental need you need on a platform. Suppose you have like sleep anxiety, or you suppose you have like some other issues. The system helps you to like create those like personalized plan that actually help you to overcome that.
So, since we're talking about the future of AI and emerging AI and ML, what type of checks have you guys put in place to prevent the AI from being bad and sort of giving bad advice to the individuals, and how is that data being protected?
Yeah, so obviously, like fair question. Like, healthcare is like again like one of the very sensitive topic, and you have to be extremely careful when you apply like these technology. When most of this like AI technology work as a black box, so we do like obviously patient privacy and is utmost important for us, and we make sure that like we do all the like check on the privacy, on the compliance or security, to make sure that our data is very anonymous and protected. We follow like various HIPAA compliance rules, and all that help like to keep that data safe. Along with that, like we don't treat AI as an isolated entity. It's works together with our coaches. Those are like trained certified people who actually give feedback on this to the system, that how this AI system is working. So it's like a we always keep human in the feedback system, and that actually help us to like overcome all mitigate all kinds of biases and address all this ethical complication that comes with like AI system. So that's how like we make sure that like our system perform the way it is intended to perform. And it's like we remove all kind of like the biases or like any kind of ethical consideration that might come into the system.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank
So, so you had mentioned that your company is involved in logistics,
Yes.
and how are you using AI in for your logistics company?
So basically, there is a massive. I don't know if any of you guys understand how the ports works in LA. We had a massive disruption on the change industry back in 2020 when COVID happened. Unfortunately, there was a lot of things we didn't really had the technology back then. So we all started focusing on working from home and all of that. So what we have done, I was sitting there, and I'm coming from a technology background. So I started pretty much creating a wish list of how I would want a system to have everything incorporated into one thing, because I was sitting there moving over 100 and something containers a week, also on a trucking company. So it was a very automated process that it was taking so much of my time. How it helped us, basically, what it did, it created a robotic process automation. Instead of having us to have four people checking for appointments, the system does it for you, and we can use human interaction to scale the companies. And this is what I done. So I used the people that I had dispatching to scale the business, customer interaction with them, because nothing is going to be talking to a human instead of a robot, right, or a bot. So for me, it scaled my company drastically. So what we done with A2C port is created a platform that does everything related to drayage. So instead of looking for 20 something websites plus the steamship lines, you have everything on one platform that does it all for you. So yes, AI, especially in my industry, I think people are very scared of losing their jobs because how automated the process is. However, if you see it from my perspective, is much of how can I scale my business now? I can scale it now because I have the tools that I need, and now I can use the people that I had to get customer acquisition, customer retention, for instance, and therefore growing. And that's what we done. We were able to open a brokerage. So yes, it has helped us a lot.
So do, do other companies use your service now? Is that it?
So we're currently on beta stage. So if anyone is interested on, getting any information on A to Z port, I'm be more than ready to explain it to you guys. We have customers, and I'm actually using the service because I also own a tracking company. So we're using it. We're tracking and tracing the containers. We have been able to atomize the entire process of making appointments. So instead of having someone to click like a video game and finding an appointment, trying to get a spot, the
Mhm.
system does it for you. It grabs it with automation. So it's like a bot, but it's robotic, repetitive, and it does it for you. So I can use my people to do other tasks.
So just thinking out loud, like how
Hmm.
do you see the future and companies like Uber that's going to have automated drivers and automated cars rather, doing all the logistics for you, possibly Amazon.
Right.
How would that? How would your system benefit those type of companies?
I think not just benefit, but it will be a game changer for them.
Mhm.
Having to use A2C port as a tool to create and see where your freight is coming, because one thing that we haven't mentioned too, everything, we are the biggest consumer in the world. Everything comes from overseas. So in order for you to track and trace the containers, the whole way is literally going by the steamship lines and checking, making sure your container was there. Then you have to go to the terminal portals and do all of that. Uber now has Uber and Amazon, for instance, right? They bring their freight coming from overseas. Everything comes from overseas. We don't do much exports in the U.S., but most of it is import. So they will be able to track and trace the freight. So Amazon, if anyone is here from Amazon, we're your people for sure.
Okay, very interesting.
Yeah.
Let's hand the mic over there.
Thank you.
So why don't you tell us a bit about
Yeah,
your company?
um, I think I can find synergies in most of the points about generative AI, about what she mentioned about the COVID era. And one of the problem statements, let me define that first, that we faced in the student transportation space was that back when COVID hit, uh, we did not have enough, and this is a problem. This is a nationwide problem in the United States of having CDL school bus driver shortages. And it's not just a driver shortage that the school bus industry is facing. It's a shortage that the trucking industry, that Walmart, that Amazon, that Uber, companies like that compete to get enough amount of drivers. And that is where I think AI and internet pitches in a big role, because when COVID hit and we were short on driver numbers, the students could not get commuted to schools. And that is where a lot of working mothers, I'm sure few of you can relate, maybe fathers and parents, had to quit their jobs just so they could safely transport, commute their students to schools whenever they started coming back. So, and then because of this, uh, the routing also took a big hit, because there was no particular system in place wherein a student is coming to school on one particular day, not coming to school another particular day, and then the addresses are changing, the bus stops are changing. So everything that had to be put in place, this industry of student transportation industry, it's so archaic and it's so conventional. It's like chalk and paper kind of an industry that has never been modernized. So you might be able to track your parcels on in Uber, your ride on Uber, or your parcels in Amazon, but there was no specific thing to track your kid while it was going to school. And that is where AI and internet played a big role. We launched a parents app on your phone, through which you could track your kid when he or she enters the bus. The kid taps the RFID card on the bus, the internet picks it up, sends a quick notification to your parent, this is where your child is. Once dropped off, again hit the RFID card, and it again tells you where your child is. So that's where internet really played a big role. Another big role where AI comes in, like I was mentioning, is to help with the routing, because if you do proper routing, uh, based on optimization of routes, you do not really need those many number of drivers. And that's like two problems solved with one approach, both the school bus driver shortage problem and the technological piece of being able to track your kid. So that is where, AI and internet really helped this industry, the transportation industry, specifically the school transportation industry.
It's very interesting. So, are you using AI to any vision AI to see?
Yes, yes. So when a particular vehicle, like for example a bus rides, we have these cameras which can predict how good the driver is driving, which means it's able to take out safety. It's able to measure safety alerts. Like if it sees a stop sign and if it doesn't, if it does not process a 1 second stop that the driver did not take, it'll automatically hit an alert, which is governed by AI. It'll hit an alert to management or leadership saying that this was where the driver, or if he passed on a red light, that is again where AI will pick it up. It'll pick up if the stop sign was flashed out for a school bus and you're not supposed to cross the road, and if a vehicle did, it'll capture that vehicle tag, provide that information. It'll immediately match up which county, which district, which state, which MVR it needs to go to, and immediately it'll send it to that governmental body and it hits a notification. So that is where the entire ecosystem building and the integration kind of really helped. So
So again, thinking of the future, you have all these companies like Uber and Amazon doing automated AI driving, driverless cars, right, and buses. How are you guys planning on building those type of buses for transporting the kids?
uh, that's a little far fetched, but I'll tell you my thoughts on it. See, with Amazon, Walmart, it's more about products and goods, which at the end of the day, even if you happen to lose, miss, it's something that is monetary. It's something that is, numbers, finances. But with transporting children, it's a lot more than that. So before you want to make sure that you're transporting a kid in a vehicle which is, run by AI, which is self-driven, we might probably, want to take a step back, make sure that the processes, the things, everything is tested. We've done everything at our end. It's been working probably, in its QA, in its testing mode for about a year, two, maybe longer, and then get that approved and rolled out.
But in like
That's
50
my.
years, like
Why not?
everything's
Yeah,
going
yeah,
to be
yeah.
done by
Yeah, yeah, why
right?
not?
So
Definitely. This
okay,
industry has a lot of scope there in terms
okay,
of.
that's an interesting use case.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So I guess I will talk about myself. So I just got back from Zambia last night, and I met with some government officials there. We discussed Bill Gates' latest startup in the copper belt, where he discovered the largest copper reserves. And one thing about Zambia is their educational system is not yet there. So there was a request that we come in and we set up an AI school, a crypto school as well, because we're a fintech AI company. And one of the first things that we decided to do was to tokenize their cattle. My uncle is one of the largest ranchers in Zambia. I'm Zambian by origin, and he has over 5,000 head of cattle. But a lot of those traditional cattle ranchers, they're not liquid, so they may have $5 million worth of cattle, but they have no electricity in their house. For all intents and purposes, they're poor. So what we're doing is we using AI to automatically tokenize each cattle, which prevents it creates a cattle bank where they can get liquidity. So that automatically now you have a credit bureau, and all these cattle, uh, farmers can borrow against that. They can invest and build up their communities. So we're using AI and crypto to provide to change people's lives actually. And as Bill Gates now has used AI for prospecting, that's something that we want to start doing as well. So Zambia's future looks good, and I think we in the West we need to work with a lot of these developing countries because they can they're so far behind that they can skip a lot of generations, right? So you find in North America, you went through the different evolution of technology. You went from the typewriter to the computer to the smartphone. A lot of these developing countries, they went straight from, you know, writing to using smartphones, right? And you could go to the village right now, and everybody's on WhatsApp, dealing with crypto and working with mobile money. So there's a whole economy, and there's so much opportunity there. But that's where I think the future of AI and in our case, crypto and the internet, could actually transform lives in a lot of these developing countries. So, anyway, uh, I don't know how much time we got, but if you have any questions, you can ask me. Um,
I wanted to know a little bit more about the cattle bag concept that you introduced.
right,
Can you talk a little bit more about that? I'm yet to figure out how that kind of really, because you spoke about crypto
right.
and how that kind of merged together.
So if you look at Zambia, for example, the Ila people, which are my people, my mother's people, they cattle has always been in their lives. For hundred thousands of years, they've raised cattle, and it was sort of like that was their natural bank. So if, for example, my grandmother, so my grandfather was originally from Canada. They were ranchers from Saskatchewan, and they moved to northern Rhodesia in Zambia. And he was the only Muzungu, he was only the white man in the village at the time. And he married the chief's daughter, which was my grandmother. And what he did is he paid Lobola the bridal price. He gave her 50, her parents 51 cows to marry her. And this was like in 1960. So today, my uncle has over 5,000 head of cattle, right? So in the traditional sense, he's very wealthy, um, but he doesn't. Though that cattle is not liquid, right? So you can't just say, okay, I want to borrow $1 million. Nobody's going to lend him $1 million, right? But if we tokenize the asset, right, we provide liquidity to the farmers. So now all of a sudden he has $5 million, or is worth $5 million. And if he wants to borrow $1 million, well, we can take that $5 million and reinvest it, put that money into treasury bills, get him 5% interest. So now all of a sudden we're writing him a check for $20,000, right? Or somebody wants to build an abattoir. We can build that abattoir. Or we can build that new school. So my mother, there was a story where there was a school that needed desks and computers and stuff like that. And she had a $5,000 Louis Vuitton bag. She sold a bag, and that paid for everything. But why does somebody need to sell their expensive bag to pay for equipment when they're sitting on so much wealth, right? So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that absolutely does. It's like, yeah.
yeah.
Have you thought about the infrastructure of your country and how AI could benefit from internet to providing electricity and all those things to kind of create more of a sustainable place to live?
So that's actually a very good question. We're currently in discussions with the government to create a coin. Um, Basically, it's a renewable energy coin where we're going to have wind, solar, and hydro,
Mhm.
and we're going to provide a device that captures how much energy these different resources are creating. That's going to create carbon credits. So we're going to tokenize that energy immediately
That's
and
nice.
sell it in London. There's an
Wow.
exchange in London, a carbon credits exchange. So now automatically the country starts benefiting from all these modern technologies. And historically, they've been left out. Um,
Absolutely.
but as a son of the soil, I'm going back and I'm changing the society. And yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
Oh, it does. Amazing. Wow. Congrats.
Oh, thank you.
I have a different question, and it's actually for the entire panel, if I may.
Sure.
So, like, we all are talking about evolution of different kinds of disruptive trends. We are bringing in transformation in our respective industries. And what I wanted to learn more from the panelists as well was what is the first biggest challenge or barrier that we faced in respective industries? Let's say you are in the finance space with crypto and you're dealing with governments in terms of passing some kind of regulation that these are going to be accepted as tokens or accepted to convert, let's say, the asset into some kind of liquidity. So, what are the barriers which, let's say, you faced in terms of mental health as well, or let's say in yours in logistics, that we need to come we need to overcome as people and as leaders in this industry. How should we portray it to our customers that they understand that AI, machine learning, or any kind of digital transformative technologies are not actually disrupting this industry, but rather bringing in the change to assist them and to scale, so that like developing countries can pass generations and get catch up to the speed of innovation. So, any thoughts on that? The biggest blockers or challenges?
So yeah, so I can start talk about like the mental health space, why it is like very important in the near future. As we have seen, like from the COVID era, the mental health problem is getting worse every day, and now we are in the second phase of the problem coming from the fear of AI. Like we see, like there is a huge there are some lots of macroeconomic situation going on. I think the world is like, there are lots of wars going on, and then there is a new wave coming of like, job replacement, right? Lots of these automated technologies are taking over like many people job, and there is a lots of fear in people. Like earlier, there was a like a speculation that only like there is certain sector of the service sector job will be affected by AI, but now we can see that there's like other sectors of jobs are also getting affected by AI. And all this problem like leads to like a person level. We see that everybody is worried about like what will happen to my job. Is like, will AI replace my job? And that is another mental issue. Uh, it's very important to know that like AI is a field like works on like should be developed as a like to support human, not replace human. And specifically, if I talk about mental health space, it is still a very taboo topic in like very developing countries. Even in developed country, people don't want to talk about it. It's not very like easily diagnosable, right? You cannot diagnose that whether you have like any mental health issue or not. AI is a one of the field where you can create your personalized agent that can help you for your specific problems, where you can share something which is you are even hesitate to talk with your spouse, or like there is someone you need who is very trustworthy, who has all the information what you want. Just think about, you have like something called like personal agent, like personal chat GPT kind of system, where you can talk about that, I'm worried about this issue and I don't want to share with any other person. So I think protecting user privacy is the utmost important thing here. That how we can create a system that is not only like currently we are building system, maybe they are like building in a company standpoint, but how we can make a user centric system that is more close to user, who thinks about user. Even a company provider ask a AI that just give me information about this guy, and that system say no, I don't want to share with it because I am connected to the person, like not with yourself. So that kind of system, that kind of I think trust we have to gain from our users, and that kind of direction we have to take if we want to tackle this problem for on a large scale. And uh, that's why I think it's very important that we not only invest like in this personalized agent, but how to make this personal agent trustworthy by employing like all this data privacy thing, putting like high level of like cryptography in there, putting every kind of checks that make sure that like these systems don't leak out information outside their like within their realm, and uh, gain trust from user. And I think that is the direction we as a company also think like we should take in the future. And that's why like one of the thing in the headspace we give, that we give our user right to opt out to share information. Like you can opt out to train your model. Like if you want to opt out that you don't want your data to train on your AI model, you can do that. So such kind of like I think user centric, I think what I say control we want to give to our user, that will make like that will help us to overcome these barriers. Like specifically, I think the user privacy and data privacy issue that can definitely and also like the other part which I haven't talked about is the ethics and bias in AI. We know that like the history, there are lots of biases associated with data, and how we can like properly remove those biases. and integrate make our system like our agent in a such a way that it does not amplify those biases to end user. It's very easy. I don't want to use that term, but gaslight a user with a biased data, and we don't want our system to tell that like you have this kind of issue and you should do this kind of thing because you have certain kind of traits. So yeah, once we solve those problem, I think we'll get like more trust from user, and that will solve like lots of barriers. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, I guess like your thoughts as well in terms of how evolution and innovation has barriers. I think there's a question from the audience. We should take that first.
Sorry. Sorry to make you come all the way. Uh, First of all, thank you, each one of you. It's a fascinating discussion here. I have a question for you because one thing that really struck me as I was listening to you. None of you mentioned responsible AI. None of you mentioned about, what AI is going to do to humans. Where I come from is my interest lies in human-centered systems and introducing AI in those systems. So I'm really curious to know what you are thinking about responsible AI. You touched a little bit, I really appreciate that about, ethics and concepts like those. But AI continues to evolve, as we all know. So I'm curious how you think about it.
I apologize for being irresponsible. Uh, I guess we're going to leave that to Elon Musk. Uh, some of these problems are bigger than us. I think, you look at OpenAI. I mean, they started as a non-profit, now they're a for-profit. I mean, who puts the guardrails there, right? Is it the government's job? Is it public's job? Is it Elon Musk's job? Um, and I don't have those answers. Personally, for me, a lot of things that I've done within my AI, I'm a big privacy advocate. I think as a CEO of an AI company, it's very important to understand about privacy. So I also come from a security background. I understand how hacking works. I understand why it's important to have privacy. I've lived in a dictatorship, right? I understand what the government can do with unlimited power. So for me, I'm paranoid about this type of stuff. So in my AI, from the very beginning, we put facial blurring technology to make sure that the user's data was going to be protected. But that's what I can do. So, but I don't know. Maybe someone else has a better answer than me.
Uh, Also, great question. Thank you
Yeah.
so much on the inside. So, I guess one thing which our company looks into developing while using AI in any kind of projects is to understand that the first component is responsibility versus accountability. So, in order to take the responsibility and making people a little bit more accountable for the decisions they make, they need to understand the power they yield. AI and machine learning essentially are transforming our lives in terms of providing us information that was not available to us. They can compute millions or billions of data points in seconds and give it to us in fingertips. But how we utilize that is something humans need to be trained as well. So I think fun fact, I graduated university just a year ago. So I'm quite young and I'm leading two different companies. My first question to all my team members was, can you first teach me how to use the system? And surprisingly, no one, not even like the engineers who have been in our companies for over 10 years, understood how to teach someone how to use AI. And that is a big fundamental problem because even our existing systems right now, like studied in the I studied in University of British Columbia in Vancouver. It's one of the world-renowned universities. We do not have a single course about AI. It is actually right now that they're building courses to talk about AI, but they're not using AI themselves. They're backdated. So the first challenge is that accountability is not built. People don't understand the power they're going to be yielding in making these decisions. But if we look back to about a few decades ago, this was the same industrial revolution which was brought by the internet. People did not know what internet could do. And in this case, when it comes on deciding between the good side and the bad side of internet, if you go back to early 2000s, the discussions were about darknet, and the discussions was about internet 2.0, what is going to be the next generation. And we are right now, about fast forward 20 years, are discussing about whether AI will be responsible, will be ethical or not. So in order to teach AI and to train it, it's the human's job. So we have to be accountable that in any systems we are building, we are first educating the user and we're creating a user centric approach. And if we're keeping the user as the first priority, customer as the first priority, it's a fundamental rule of business that we have to make sure that we build trust with them. And when the trust component comes in, that's the security, that the ethics, those are the systems which have been placed in this regard to make sure that visibility is there. Now, transparency and visibility comes on which systems should be transparent and which systems should not be transparent. So, for example, education as a system is quite transparent versus finance as an industry, let's say cryptocurrency, has to have its checks and barriers because you don't want your social insurance number or your banking details going out to every single person. So, I think the way we have trained our algorithms is to understand the user, the need, and then develop solutions. So, in any kind of projects we have done, in this case, using spatial data, visualizing the Earth from space, we can work across defense, forestry, mining, and we collect billions of data points every single day. We can practically scan the Earth to 10 meters resolution by just using satellites. This much of information is powerful, but categorizing this information into segments and then educating the users on how they can make insights out of it is the trick of the game. And that is the biggest barrier as well. But at the same time, that is what teaches us to be accountable. That is, gives us the responsibility that we are making an important decision and our decisions will have consequences. It's fine. So let data drive the decisions, but let us be accountable for the choices we make. And let us not forget that we are humans. AI is still made by a human, and humans are kind of smart. We have some amazing things we can do. So let's use AI to transform this industry rather than fearing from it and rather than thinking that it will be the irresponsible one. We have to be accountable in that.
So sorry, I want to throw a wrench in this one, and I'll mention one word, and that's China.
Yeah.
uh, as I mentioned, I just got back from Zambia, and in Africa, China has pretty much colonized Africa without a gun, just by buying up the politicians, buying up land, building everything you can think of. What was scary was walking through the airport. It's a Chinese airport, the whole airport, beautiful airport. you know, like I mean, the most beautiful airport I've seen in my life. But there's cameras everywhere, and I'm looking at these cameras and I'm thinking, what are they capturing? You walk and there's screens, and they're looking at all this data, and I'm scared. China doesn't care about responsibility. Their own people are being monitored. So I think this is where like people in the West need to also ask themselves, how responsible should we be if China doesn't care and they just using AI, to do whatever? Like, do we need to be that responsible as well? I mean, they're gonna leave us in the dust, right? So I don't know. Does anyone have any counter arguments here?
No, I think I'm in sync with most points spoken already. Around security, safety, transparency, visibility, and privacy, of course. Coming from the military, I think these aspects were very important to us also in that industry as well. So to be able to feel responsible, uh, being a user, uh, while using AI is something that holds accountability onto the user, I feel. And it's also about how the product of that particular AI is launched and how many governing bodies and testing bodies have eyes has that product gone through before it's actually launched out to the public. So as long as I feel that part has been taken care of, which for the most part has been, uh, I think AI should be the future, and we should just not, uh, neglect it or look at the downsides just because of couple of 1%, instances. That's my take on it.
But coming from the military, I'm not sure if anybody's watched that show on Netflix, where they basically the rest of the world kind of like gangs up and takes over Teslas and stops all these satellite communication. And it's all basically AI, right? AI hacking systems. If if Western countries don't advance as fast as China and Russia and North Korea, because we have these guardrails that we're always thinking of, how who's going to win the war, right?
Like, I've seen wars in the military, but in my opinion, like, since I've transitioned, it's one thing to be even talking about. Uh, I wouldn't be really talking about the West or the East either. For me, uh, as long as it's benefiting the community, it's benefiting humans in general. I feel is the future, and that's the way I look at it.
So one of the things that I would like to mention is that we're really not looking into AI. Yes, 100%, a lot of jobs will be obsolete with this industry. However, if we really take a look at it, we can benefit from that as well, from having advanced predictive analytics. We can really understand how our future can look from weather conditions, political news, and things like that, that we can do a data analysis and check how we can manage business moving forward. So we're not really looking into AI as far as, yes, it's scary, but it brings us way more benefits than the fear that we have. As humans, we have fear because a lot of these jobs, like everyone has mentioned, will be obsolete. There's no question about it. But how can we use the same people to leverage, scale your businesses, and create a better space where we can use AI to predict a lot of the things that we've been dealing with, and therefore forecasting better output up there. So that's my take on that. Thank you so much for the invite, guys.
So just one last mention. Putin said that whoever wins the AI race will be the next superpower. Does anybody else have any words to say on that?
I think that means all humans are winning the race because all of us are using it. It should not
Well,
just
no,
be.
but to win the AI race, the most advanced country.
So that's the thing, beauty about AI, that research for AI is not just limited to geographical boundaries. It's now being shared across the world. So realistically, whatever barriers we had, that A versus B is now not A versus B, it's actually equal in a way. It's about optimizing and putting into application. So building the research and building the products is something we are getting equal access to. Data as well as information is available, and that's the evolution of innovation. The way we optimize this AI, the way we apply this AI, is maybe going to decide the fate of not just a nation but the entire humankind as a whole. So of course we look up to leaders, we look up to politics, but I think as technological leaders, for us politics might drive principles and governing regulations, but for us customers, users, clients come first. And for that, I don't think, like, if AI is actually about to bring change, it will deliver. And it's not which nation will succeed or will win the war, it's humans as a whole who will be optimizing it for their own benefit. That's my take on it.
Oh, that's it. Thank you for inviting
Thank you.
us.
All righty. Give it one more time for our panelists. Thank you so much.